Okay, Mr. Stewart here, and this morning, or today anyways, I am going to show you how to draw this part a little bit. Some people are having some trouble with the circular pattern here, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Let's go back to Inventor. Okay, so here we go. All right, I'm going to start my 2D sketch. I'm going to put it on the XY plane, pull this down here, and I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I'm going to pull this out, and then I'm going to dimension it, and this is going to be 3 inches, and then our vertical dimension here is also going to be 3 inches. So I'll zoom in on this a little bit so we can all see it pretty well. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to create the circles, and I'm going to use what are called the inference lines to kind of place this circle. That I just touched the middle of that line. I'm going to touch the middle of this line, and now you can see these like dashed lines that appear. I made that a dimension of 0.25 in diameter. I'm going to dimension from the side wall here to the center, and that's 1.5, and from the side wall to the bottom, and that is also 1.5. Now I'm going to draw another circle. I'm just going to put this up here in space. I'll make this 1.25 also. And then I'm going to dimension this into place. So I'm going to go from center to center of that circle. And according to our drawing, it's going to be 1 inch. Then I'm going to use a horizontal constraint to go to the center point of there. So that gives me all the stuff I need now to do my circular pattern. That I'm going to do by clicking up here. I'm going to click on this geometry. The axis of rotation is the next click, and it's that right there. And there are 10 holes in this plate. Now, just to double check and make sure I got everything done. Yes, I do. Okay. Next thing I need to do is I'm going to finish my sketch here. And let's zoom this so that we can see it. And I'm going to extrude this. The extrude is going to be 0.25 inches. And I'm going to say OK. And that is all set. The only thing I have to do still is hit save. And I'm going to put this, you're going to put this into your H drive. I'm going to put it onto my desktop just so I can find it easy. I'm going to give it a name that I know is going to work. And I'll say yes to that. All right. So now I'm going to go back to the home icon. So I'll click on the house. Here he is. And this time I'm going to go up to the little laying down piece of paper here. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go find my start point title block and say create. Now up here I'll put in all my information. One, say OK and OK. Now I need to insert my part. So I'm going to go to the word base, and this opened up nicely because I was already on the, I had the part open here in Inventor. So I'm going to just move this, I can just move this over a little bit right there. And I'm going to do my isometric projection. Whoops. All right. And I'll right click and say OK. I don't want this view on here, so I'm just going to delete it. Yes, I do want to delete that. I'll move this down and in. Okay, now to dimension the circular pattern, we're going to go to annotate. I'm going to choose the center line tool here. Whenever we have holes, we want to choose center line first. I'm going to click on the edges of all of these holes. And what I'm doing here is I'm creating this center line that goes through this circular pattern, which is also called a bolt hole pattern. Okay, there we go. Right click, say create. I'm going to put one more center mark in here that is with the little cross tool, and I want to put that in the center of that block right there in the middle of that hole. Okay, now what I want it to do is I want to show you quickly again how to use the baseline set tool to create our dimensions here, and to do the 2-inch diameter, and also how to do these hole notes that are on here. So let's go back to this. All right, so I'm going to start my dimension tool, and first I'm going to dimension this. Now this came up as a diameter dimension, but usually it comes up as a radius. So I'm going to hit dimension type here, and I can change it to radius if I want, but I really want it to be diameter. So if you come up as a radius, I'm going to right click, say dimension type, and I'm going to hit diameter and click that, and then I'll say okay. The next one is this hole, these 10 holes right here. So this is going to come up just like this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enter, and let's see what that note says exactly. Diameter 0.250 through 10 equi-space, which means equal space. So I've already forgotten. Through 10. All right. Now remember, this is always going to be 10, 0. There we go. Too many spelling errors there. All right, there we go. Now here's a problem. This text is crossing outside of my dialog box or outside of my drawing box, so I'm going to double click on that, and I'll hit enter once, and that's going to make that a lot better. Now let's use our baseline set. So baseline set is going to be up here next to dimension, to the right of the dimension tool. I'm going to click on that. And how you use this is the first click is going to be on your baseline. The next click is going to be on whatever it is you're selecting. And then the one after that is also going to be on your next line. And then I'm going to right click and say continue. I'm going to place those dimensions, right click and say create. I'm going to do the same thing. The lights went off in my classroom here. Hold on just a second. I'm going to pause this. Here we go. Whoops. Okay, I'm back. The lights are on. So the next one is I'm going to put on these dimensions over here. So back to Inventor. Okay, baseline set. I click on the baseline. I click on the next object that I am dimensioning, and the last one, right click, continue, pull it out until it becomes a phantom, left click, right click, and create. And then the last dimension, well, the last two things, that's a 0.25 diameter through. So we can use our dim leader here if we want. And I'll show you how to do that. Right click, continue. Now this is where I have to go up to our in our text box here. I'm going to choose the diameter 0.25 through and say okay. And the last thing we need to do is we need to put our note on here for the thickness. So the next one is note, which is text right there. Click, and it says thickness 0.25, and say OK. Once you have that all done, your drawing's done. You're going to print it as a PDF, so you go File, Print. You're going to choose the Microsoft printer. You're going to say Best Fit Preview. Looks good. Go to Print and say OK. Now it's going to ask you where you want to put this. I'm going to choose my desktop. There we go. And I'm just going to call this P2. And save. Okay. There you go. That's how you do part number 3.